If you had a magic wand, what would you do to change your life today? Surprise, the universe has given you a gift that you are listening or watching this message today, because the good news is you have your own magic wand. You may not know this, but whether you're looking to change something in your life, maybe it's in your body, it's in your physical health, maybe it's in your relationship, maybe it's in your job. The good news is I have a magic wand. You have your own magic wand. And today, you guys are going to be hearing from the master wizard himself, the master wizard of words, Mark England. Welcome.
Thank you, Amanda. That's quite. I really like the intro. Master of Wizardry. Okay, I'll do my best. So you're right. You're 1,000% right that people do have a magic wand. It's called a pen and a piece of paper. The definition of magic is the ability to apparently alter the course of events using supernatural forces. It's not the ability to do it, it's the apparent ability to do it. And when somebody knows how to pick up that pen, which can feel like it weighs 600 pounds, depending on what you're writing out, and go get the scary stories that live in people's heads. Most people don't write anything down, especially not the scary stuff. And go get those scary stories and write it out, spell it out, and they know how to dispel. So the definition of a spell, Webster's, not mine, is a word or a combination of words of great influence. And then the definition of dispel is to cast out. And when someone knows how to use their pen to cast out the fear of not being good enough, the fear of being seen, elements of the victim mentality, they know how to do that, cast those out, and then write out what they would like to do, also known as goal setting. So the definition, not the definition, there's a big difference between a dream and a goal. It's a big difference and it's a simple difference. A dream is kept in your head and a goal is written down. If it's not written down, you don't have a goal, you've got a dream, and only 3% of the population have goals. So when you know how to turn the volume down on the stuff that's in the way and turn the volume up on the stuff that you want to go do, you're people will look at that kind of person and go, wow, how do you do it? Looks like magic.
It does look like magic. So let's jump in and tell us the definition between like living in as a victim or as the creator.
Well, we're always the creator. It's just people don't like to admit that they're creating the chaos and the drama and the fires and the problems.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's very similar to visionaries. Everybody's a visionary. The person that worries the most that you know, and my grandmother was a 3rd-degree black belt in worrying. She was a visionary. Only the only people that get credit for being a visionary are the people that look into the future and tell us stories of how things could be better. Okay. But everybody's a visionary. If somebody is obsessed with worst case scenarios, catastrophizing, and blaming people for stuff excessively, they're definitely a visionary. You just don't like what they're seeing. Okay. And it's the same. So what's the difference between being the victim of circumstance or the victim in your own story or the hero in your own story? That's a big difference. One of the main differences is that the victim is in a perpetual stressed response. Their breath is trapped in their chest. It's one of the calling cards of the victim mentality. They have a very narrow way of seeing things. Feel like they don't have any options. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, a lot of villains, tons of people to blame, tons of telephobia, which is the fear of not being good enough. That's what that is. 95% of everybody's stuff. I almost used a 4-letter word there. Can I cuss on here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 95% of everybody's shit is comes down to the fear of not being good enough in all of its forms and flavors. And then and then you're a victim of circumstance. You're a spectator in the stands. You're a non-playable character, as the kids say these days. That's existentially terrifying. And then to be the centerpiece of your story, the hero of your own story, the architect of your story, which is another way of saying creator, yes. And that comes with a completely different set of feels and vibes. You know, you're breathing, you're centered, you're breathing lower and slower. You have options because you know how to create options. Um, and most heroes have, to some degree, turned the volume down on villainizing other people in the world. So it's, yeah, they're two completely different universes to live in, and there's two completely different stories. They're two completely different language patterns. And we file all of this stuff under important shit you didn't learn in English class in high school. Because I didn't have
Right.
any. I've got a degree in education, and I came up in the public school system. I didn't have one course, class, or conversation on how to use my words to stay focused on what's important and keep the drama down and build myself up in my imagination. That's your self-image. Create feelings of confidence and competence, also known as being good enough, not perfect, good enough. Unlocking my breath while I'm at it, turning in myself into a good listener. No, I learned about a past participle. I still don't know what a past participle is. I don't care. It's like,
What about a dangling participle? That was even weirder. The dangle.
I, that is weirder. What
Like,
is
what
that?
is
What
that?
is a dangling participle?
I
Now
have
that
no
we're on to
idea.
something really important, what is that? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna
But it's
find out
not
though.
helping me pay the bills, that's for sure.
No, no, no. Oh wow,
It's
you're
not
using a
helping
lot of.
me.
No, no, and it's not going to. And those reports that you did, do you remember any of the reports that you gave in 10th grade
No,
about who
no.
cares what now? No,
Yeah, yeah.
no, 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 no. Yeah, so there's a big difference between the two, and it's not an intelligence issue, everybody. It's not a deserving issue. Some people deserve to be happy and others don't. It's simply an education issue about how your language influences you for better and for worse, or to use another, to say it another way, what your mindset is and how to work on it. I might hold the record of the most of definitions of mindset read in a single sitting. It's
Let's
144.
go. Let's start. Let's do it.
144. It's crazy. Because we're doing some writing on it. Because this is our lane. Um, and they most of them are somewhere between, that doesn't make much sense and overly complicated, and I know they go hand in hand. um we've got a simple definition of mindset at Enlifted. Oh, and just if anyone out there is into mindset or knows people that are into mindset, go ask them what it is. Go ask three people what's mindset. You're going to get three different answers, and very likely none of them are going to be clear and concise and simple and practical. The root word of practical is practice. Enlifted's definition is simple, it is clear, and it is practical. Your mindset, our mindset, my mindset is the story that we tell ourselves. That's it. In all its glory, in all of its simple glory. It's a story that we're telling ourselves, and that story is made of words. And how does someone work on their mindset? Well, one, you need to know what it is in order to work on it. And then if you're working on your mind, if you're that means you're using different words. Oh, I see things differently now. You mean you're using different words. My life is changed. You're using different words. Why? Because people's life, your life is a story. Um, I changed my mind. Oh, you mean you're using different words. She needs to respect me more versus I need to respect me more. Different words, different perspective. Majorly.
Yeah. I realized how my story was even just in using my name. Anytime I said my name, I've hated my name my whole life. And I realized that anytime I was saying my name, it was like, what the fuck, Amanda? Why did you do that, Amanda? I can't believe that. Like, that was ridiculous, Amanda. That was the only time I was saying my name. And most people don't address people with their name every day. So a couple of people that's kind of their thing that would say my name, I would honestly feel a little bit uncomfortable whenever they would say my name because I don't know, it was just that was that icky feeling that I had inside, and I didn't realize that that's the way I was talking to this shell that happens to have that name, Amanda. And a few months ago, whenever I realized this, I started writing down in my journal. I started writing down, I love you, Amanda. I trust you, Amanda. I believe in you, Amanda. And that's really what changed everything for me to have the courage to even start this podcast. I'd wanted to have a podcast for the last 3 years, but I kept, what do you can't do that, Amanda. Who's going to talk to you, Amanda? Why would anybody listen to what you have to say, Amanda?
Who
It
do
was
you think
always
you
the
are,
negative.
Amanda?
Exactly. It was all of those things. And now, like every day, that's what I start out. I write in my journal. I write down, I love you, Amanda, is the very first thing that I write down. And I encourage people to do that all the time. It's writing it, saying it out loud, saying it in front of the mirror, I think is highly impactful and very uncomfortable. Get out your phone, video a selfie gram. You can delete it. It doesn't matter. Nobody has to see it, but it's so different and so powerful to hear and feel those words inside and see what a difference it's made just in my own life in something so simple. So simple. Magic
That
wand.
that right there. And then you could supercharge those. How many affirmations do you have written down?
The main ones that I write every day are I love you, Amanda. I trust you, Amanda. I believe in you, Amanda. And everything works out with me. I know within full certainty that everything always works out for me.
Perfect.
Yeah, those are the ones I do. Yeah, those four.
Those four. Uh so we'll there's so many directions we can take this conversation. I'm going up to New Jersey, the New Jersey Shore for a little R&R this weekend. And I've it's been my MO for a long time. So as I mentioned before we started recording, I've been a digital for nomad for a very long time. I was doing this before there was a word for it. My name hasn't been on a lease anywhere on the planet since 2002. And so I've been traveling a lot, and wherever I would go, I would find a place to do a workshop. And I'm still doing that. So on this weekend vacation, I'm giving a workshop at True Light Yoga. Um, uh, at it's not Delaware Beach. It's the name is it's on the Jersey Shore, and at a yoga studio. And I'm going to open it talking about how to 10x the power of affirmations. And yogis like affirmations. Most people do that are into personal development, and there's one thing we can do to at the minimum 10x them, the potency of it. We can do that later if you want to. Podcasts. This is my 449th podcast that I've been on, talking about one thing: the power of words and stories. And if let me back up. 2009, a friend of mine, I used to ride bicycles with him, still a great friend. He goes, "Hey man, I'm starting a podcast. I'm gonna do it in my garage. Talk about these things, different things, and then I'm going to um, build a website." He was a web designer at the time. "I'm going to build a website and I'm going to sell Chinese tea, oolong tea." And His wife, Chinese, met her in China, specialized in international import export. Okay. Kind of stacking the deck in
Yeah.
his favor. This dude bought 17 drums of tea and all of the accoutrements. I mean, he came over. I lived in Thailand for a bunch of years and Bangkok for 5, and he and I lived together for about a year and a half, and we would go into Chinatown. We got into tea like nobody's business, right? And so he comes back to the States. He moves to China, finds his wife, marries her, comes back to the States, and now they're doing the States thing. Anyway, he bought everything he was going to sell on his website. And he goes, "Would you come on my podcast?" And I go, "For sure." So I was his first person on his podcast. He ended up doing 3 podcasts, producing 3 podcasts, which is 80% of podcasts don't get out of 3. Neither did he. And he stopped because he said, "I don't like the sound of my own voice."
Oh my God.
Who does like the sound of their own voice? Most
Yeah.
people don't get over that, though. They let it get in the way. And how many podcasts is this for you?
I have released 8 episodes and I've probably got like 4, in the
Phenomenal.
bucket that I've already recorded that I'm waiting to release. So yeah.
Great job. Which one was the hardest? Let me guess, the first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
press
yeah.
and play on publish. Remember that? When
Oh
you were like,
yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's even weirder, more uncomfortable to do the video. It's like I finally got over the okay, my voice sounds weird on the audio, and now
only to you.
I'm in process of getting past the self-doubt and discomfort of doing the video, right? So I guess Apple Podcast doesn't have video, but you can, do video podcasts on Spotify and on YouTube. So, and an episode I released a couple weeks ago, I said, okay, moving forward, I'm going to challenge myself getting over this fear of not hearing my voice and seeing myself talk. I'm like, why is my mouth moving like that? What am I looking at over there? All those weird things. It's like, just get
That
over that
nobody else is
shit.
paying attention to, just you.
No, nobody notices that, but it's so weird.
And we can talk about this after the podcast. I've done this more times than I can count. Are you looking for good guests?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I got a laundry list of them.
Oh,
I got
I'm in.
a laundry list of them. Um, right. So and you're driving the bus here. We could talk about, because this is where most people get into personal development or mindset or working on themselves, is because they're a little stuck somewhere. They got a problem. They're struggling. Something's not quite right. Most people don't pick up a book on self-development when the sun's out and everything's going great and they got this. And when you scratch the surface of what their blocks are, you're going to get the victim mentality very, very frequently in all of its glorious forms and fashions. I could recite the definition of the victim mentality. Okay. We could, because most people have never heard it, we could talk about how to 10x affirmations and why most affirmations people, and they're not lying, they're telling the truth, say, "I don't feel it." There's a reason for that. There's several reasons for that. We could talk about that. We could talk about podcasting some more. We could talk about what do you what do you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
well, I've heard you speak, a few times, but that's information that I have that's here that I'm using in my everyday. But for listeners that maybe haven't heard, what it is that you're doing, I would like to just jump in and abracadabra, let's talk about these words even a little bit more and how this story gets in people's head and the things that people say. And maybe like as I started out, somebody says, hey, I'm tired of being so tired, or I can't lose weight, or I can't find a man, like all those things that people have in their head of like they can't do something and how that affects what they see. You know, we attract where we are. These words, like you said, we're casting spells with that. I think people don't realize and understand how powerful those words are, and um, how it really can make a difference. And if it doesn't matter if you're going to the gym every day and you're not, your mindset, like you said, your story is, I'm never going to be able to do this, I can't do this, why does that person have this and I don't, or whatever that story is in your head, you're actually just fighting a losing battle and making it much more difficult for you to accomplish whatever that is, whether that's find another job or, you know, find a life partner or anything in your life. It's just it truly is magical to see how you can make just such a small little shift in the words that you're using with yourself. Because I keep repeating to people is, people want to think that it matters so much about what other people say to them or say about them. But in reality, what really matters is what's in your heart. That's this whole thing, getting back to the heart, back to yourself, finding yourself. And we think that it matters of what these people outside are saying or doing, but what really matters, what's really affecting us, is what we're saying to ourselves. And I think people don't understand that they are in that victim mentality. A lot of people don't even know what that is. They're just like, well, yeah, my life fucking sucks because I just lost my job yesterday. I'm alone, and whatever the story is, they don't know that that puts them into that space of woe is me, and they're going to continue that vicious cycle if they don't just take a stand and make a choice. You have a choice. That's the beauty of being a human. We have the choice of free will. And it's not that, hey, let's just have this toxic positivity and make up shit. It's no, let's like think about the words that we're saying, whether it's in our heads or out loud, regardless of what you're saying, honestly, to somebody else. It's what you're saying to yourself that's so much more important.
Yeah. Yeah. She's right, everybody. I mean, what's more seductive than your own voice in your own head? And there's a difference between having a choice and creating a choice. And then to go further with that, creating choices. Do you have a pen and paper handy?
Oh, yeah. Let's do this.
Let's do this. So, could, when used consciously in certain ways, is a phenomenal brainstorming word tool because it puts everything on the table. So, in context to this podcast, I want you to write out and make them full sentences. I don't make the rules, everybody. Half sentences and bullet points don't cut it. Write down 5 things. And while you're writing, I'll riff on the difference between words in the head and words written down. Write out 5 things that could happen from you putting this podcast out there.
Okay.
Okay, the things that, so I'll tee you up some stuff. Things that could happen. How many podcasts you could do in the next year? Okay.
Okay.
What big name? Big name. No one's a big name. Everybody's a fucking person. Okay. What people you could get on your show. Okay. So
Okay.
we're putting everything on the table. Okay. Could you monetize this? All the like the things that light you up the most about this podcast, write them one at a time, or one thing per sentence. So I could publish 30 shows this year. I could monetize my show in 2026. I could have Paul Check on my show. I could like what stuff like that. And give me 5. And so yeah, so we're looking at the difference, everybody, between having choices and creating choices. Having is passive. It's like I have a cold or I'm having some dessert. You can put kids in there. I have kids versus um, creating. I'm creating these outcomes where I'm creating these possibilities. I'm creating these potentials. I'm creating new ideas. A lot of the answers to your problems, quote unquote problems, everybody, is just different ideas. Okay. And most people keep their creative ideas in their head, and very rarely do creative ideas in the head. That's when they're in the most raw form. Very rarely do they show up like sentences like the one she's writing down. Okay. They go this, so it's like broken, it's like half sentences, little clips of ideas, a flash. What she's doing, everybody, and that's the story goes the fastest when it's in your head. Words in the head, it goes the fastest. I don't care what it is, whether it's a decision to make, a a traumatic event that keeps replaying in your head, something that you'd like to do. Story's going the fastest. It goes. It's this. It slows down a gear, a speed when we speak it out, and it becomes more organized. Okay. It follows the law, the rules of the English language. If you want to sound half competent. Okay. And then the slowest form of storytelling is writing it down. And writing something down, oddly enough, makes it 10 times more likely to happen. And there can be some puckering. I did say that puckering involved when it comes to writing things down that we want to do. Why? Because when we move towards things that we want to do, just like Amanda was saying earlier, the parts of us that feel that fear that we're not good enough for fill in the fucking blank, try to get in the way. And so that's one reason. It's a lack of knowledge of how to do it and why to do it. And then the part of us, it's like, no, you're not good enough to blah 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 blah, distracts us because it's the easiest thing in the world to write something down, and it's the easiest thing in the world to not write something down too simultaneously. That's the
Yeah.
cosmic giggle. And so when we write things down, it's now been externalized. We can look at the words, which allows us to then further refine the words until it's written down. You don't even have a draft to hand in, like high school. The words have to come out in order for you to have a rough draft. And then most of the time, if you have a second or third draft, which is you're using different words, you're refining how the words are put together, you have a better thing to hand in and you get a better grade. It's a more, it's just refined. Um, and usually it gets shorter, but that's another part of the conversation. Um, yeah, and so in this case, we're drafting. We're gonna draft, craft, and then supercharge these spells. Everybody write down draft, craft, and supercharge. What did she just do? She just got the words written down on paper. That's the draft. Crafting is where we tinker with the words. Supercharging is where we get the breath in there. And this is, we're going to take it in it's the same direction. It's going to be a slight variation, but this is the workshop that I'm doing up at True Light Yoga. Okay.
Well, I love that you just said earlier that you're going for some R&R and you're working,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because isn't that what everybody's dream
Oh
really
yeah.
is to be able to do something that you love and enjoy while and you still feel as though you are resting
Yeah.
because it just comes so natural.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's better than rest. It
Yeah.
energizes me, and makes my life meaningful.
Yeah.
And I get to meet cool people on the path because most people are not interested in thinking about their thinking. That's what we're doing
No.
here. We're thinking about our thinking.
They're
Alan
just
Watts said it.
complaining about how much they hate their lives, but not changing anything. And,
Yeah.
if you don't change it, if you don't look to change something, it's going to continue to be the same, if not worse.
Yeah. Look to change it, know to change it, like
Yeah.
want to change it. Some people are absolutely addicted, thoroughly obsessed with being a victim.
Yeah.
And an act of Congress and an email from Jesus couldn't fix that shit. And that's their life. Doesn't bother me at all. Just, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. Whatever. I know who I'm surrounding myself with. Um, cool. So what's it like, Amanda, to have those statements, those spells written on paper?
It feels it feels empowering. It feels attainable.
Nice. Have you ever written those sentences down before?
Um, Maybe one of them, but
Cool.
maybe not with the word could. Just
Okay.
more like kind of the I am or I'm doing it.
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Again, could is an extremely easy word to work with when we're socializing ideas. I
Oh yeah.
could. Go ahead and read them out top to bottom. Let's see what we got.
Okay. I could help other people help themselves. I could make enough money to leave my day job. I could create a community to help people heal themselves. I could publish 50 episodes this year. I could invite whoever is in alignment that I want to be on the podcast.
Nice. So she wrote it, she read it. What happens? What happens to the energy when you read it out loud?
It makes it feel more real, not just a dream or an idea. Like you said, it changes it from being this possibility to being an actual goal.
Super cool. Um, so that's the draft, everybody. We're gonna craft a little bit. See what we can do. Go ahead and read that first sentence.
I could help people. I could help other people help themselves.
Scratch out the word could and put in can.
Okay. I can help other people help themselves.
What happens when you go from could to can?
It changes it from a possibility to an action, an ability, from a possibility to an ability.
Nice. And some people might be going, yeah, no shit. Could to can. Give me a second, everybody. Now read it with the can.
I can help other people help themselves.
And what I'm doing right here, I am Switzerland in this interaction. I'm neutral. What I'm here to do is to play with the words to find out what fits best for Amanda today. That's it. Okay. Um, so we're just seeing what happens. Scratch out the word other and put in my.
Okay. I can help my people help themselves.
What happens when you go from other to my?
Um, that makes it a lot more intimate
Okay.
and that changes it to people that are closer to me. Obviously, it was more intimate, where, maybe before I had something in my mind that, well, the people around me maybe are either they would have already seen the light or, started making changes because I'm shining my light bright enough for them to see it. So they're already, doing their thing. So this is people I'm helping, people that don't even know me. But now it's like, okay, well, I can help anybody, even the people that are closest to me that may not see it today.
Cool. Scratch out people and put in audience.
Okay. Okay. I can help my audience help themselves.
In the context of this, what we're focusing on,
Yeah.
your podcast, what happens when you plug in audience?
It's beautiful because it's people that are listening even right now as I speak, that just us going through this exercise is resonating for them. And honestly, this helps me too. You know, me helping myself, it's like helping other people see
Yeah.
this. It's actually helping me the most
Yeah.
in just doing this and expressing myself. So yeah.
Scratch out the word can.
Okay. I help my audience help themselves.
Describe the vibe on that.
That's beautiful. It's already done.
Replace the word I with my podcast.
My podcast helps my audience help themselves.
Which do you prefer, I or my podcast?
Hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe I.
Cool. Use I.
Yeah. Because I think the idea is that, you know, the podcast is getting the information out to people to realize that they can help themselves and they can do it. I've done this shit. Other people are doing this. You're not alone to make these changes. And, you know, be it a small change or a big change, it's all one step towards whatever that goal is that people have. And if I can do this via the podcast and any other type of modalities, it's getting that information out to people this way through the podcast.
Perfect. Run with I. Uh, Go to the next sentence and read that.
I could make enough money to leave my day job.
Make or generate.
Ooh, I like that. Generate. I could generate enough money to leave my day job.
Money or revenue.
I like that. Revenue. Okay. I could generate enough revenue to leave my day job.
Scratch out I and put in my podcast.
My podcast could generate enough revenue to leave my day job.
To leave my day job or to become my full-time job.
Yes, to become my full-time job.
And so what's happening, everybody, when we use different words, she's making different pictures. It's you're changing the lens of the thing that you see stuff through. Technically, it's called the reticular activating system. And we could uh work more on that sentence. We can work more on all these sentences. And we're just getting in there and playing around a little bit, showing y'all what's possible. Read the third one.
I could create a community to help people heal together.
It's good for shits and giggles. We'll I usually negation don't do this. And I could create, scratch out could create and put in created.
I created, okay, a community to help people heal together.
What happens when you go past tense on it?
Makes you feel like, I mean, it's done. It's already done.
Awesome. Read the fourth one.
I could publish 50 episodes this year.
Go to can. Scratch out could, put in go and put in can.
I can publish 50 episodes this year.
Put a because after year,
Okay.
and then fill in whatever comes to mind.
So what comes to mind, like, because I've already gotten through the hardest part and publishing the first 8 in the
Pretty,
first 2 months of the year.
yeah, pretty fucking true.
I feel like that's the biggest thing. I mean, that's the hardest part, and knowing that I have, all these other guests already lined up and a lot more people to ask, and I'm building my confidence every day that more people want to hear what I've got to say, and I'm connected to the right people, all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Read the fourth one.
I could invite whoever is in alignment that I want to be on the podcast.
Scratch out could and put in will.
I will invite whoever I want who's in alignment to be on the podcast.
Now scratch out will.
Okay. I invite whoever I want who's in alignment to be in the podcast.
I know fun's an opinion, everybody. For me, this shit is fun.
It is.
Yo mama said don't play with your food. Mark England is telling you play with your words.
Yeah.
So on a clean sheet of paper, Amanda, rewrite each one of those sentences, those crafted sentences. Remember, everybody, it's really hard to do this work. I'll say it another way. It's much easier to do this work when you write the things down initially and have that draft. That's what the first part was. It was a draft. And then she and I went in together. It's not me putting words in her mouth. Okay. I'm just, giving suggestions to try out. And if she likes it, great. If she doesn't, great. That's the craft. So we played with the words, made the spells more quote unquote powerful. That's the craft. And then we're going to supercharge them. And this is the missing link for people's affirmations.
Oh, I just changed another one a little bit.
Good.
Okay. I help my audience help themselves. My podcast generates enough revenue that it is my full-time job. I changed that from my podcast can generate enough revenue to become my full-time job to my podcast generates enough revenue to be my full-time job. Does that sound right?
Hey, if you like it, I love it. And you could even go, my podcast is my full-time job.
Even better.
And that's not always the case, everybody. It's almost always the case is that in the crafting, the sentences will get shorter and sweeter if you take them to the very end.
Yeah. And I created a community to help people heal together. And I published 50 episodes this year. And I invite whoever I want who is in alignment to be on the podcast.
Awesome. How's that feel to say?
It feels great. It feels absolutely amazing.
Cool. You want to make it even mo better, more
Let's do
amazinger?
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So if you want to, let me back up. A lot of people say with affirmations, I don't feel it. And they're telling the truth. Okay. Or I don't feel it as much as I know I could. That's in the same ballpark too. And here's why. Their breath is trapped in their chest. And so they just go from one affirmation to the next affirmation to the next affirmation to the next affirmation. Read your affirmations. I'm good enough. Everything's working out for me. People like me. I've made a lot of progress. Um, I give myself the credit I deserve. I rest when I need to. Dot, 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 dot. And if the breath is trapped in the chest, it turns into this mental exercise. That's all it is. You want all of you on board with these new and improved spells. And how you do that is you do the unthinkable. It's so complicated. Fucking rocket science is to read one of your affirmations and in between each one, do full breath out and then go to the next affirmation. And when you're done reading that, and so on. And when you do that, several ways of saying the same thing, it helps you embody the concept or take it to heart or socialize the idea. And when you do that, most people get to where you want to be with your affirmations, which is they feel real and true, or they feel matter of fact, or they feel possible or probable. Okay. Most people get there in 7 days, reading it once a day with breath. Without the breath, somebody somewhere with a crystal is going to say you need to do it 108 days till it finally sinks into your subconscious mind. No, you don't. You don't need it. Read them and breathe, as we say in the biz, and watch what happens. They'll sink in. So, from the top, and I'm going to breathe with you, Amanda. Read them. Read each spell, and then at the end, full in all the air in, and then all the air
Okay.
out.
I help my audience help themselves. My podcast generates enough revenue to be my full-time job. I created a community to help people heal together. I published 50 episodes this year. I invite whoever is in alignment to be a guest on my podcast.
Nice work. Describe the vibe. What happened when you got the breath in there?
It definitely slows down all the thoughts that are in the head to put them into the breathing and the feeling and the believing. Because it's like it's one thing to think it, and it's even another to say it, but it's like the breathing brings it into here. It helps you feel it.
Yeah.
Because just saying it, you don't necessarily believe it, in your head. It's like seeing it, seeing it and reading it out loud in front of another person, in front of who knows who's listening, and add into the breath, it definitely solidifies it to be real and not imaginary anymore.
Yeah, very well said. Let's do the reads one more time, and we're gonna make one slight adjustment. We're gonna put some polish on the delivery. Okay, so it's
Okay.
also another. We could do a two back-to-back podcasts on affirmations and why, because there's some stuff I'm not going to get into on why they don't land like they could, and then what to do to make them land like they can. So another reason, and I don't know who came up with this either. Another reason that affirmations, another way to improve affirmations, or a way that affirmations are usually delivered, is the way she just did, which is choppy. I could make my podcast my full-time job. Okay. Somebody somewhere thought that in order to be we got to be spiritual. Not saying that this is you, like your thought process about it, but it's the general process. I've lived in, you know, yoga communities before, staring at what they do with their words and affirmations. And people don't talk like that. So
Yeah.
why are we doing that with our affirmations? What you want is OTC, everybody. Write down OTC. You want to say them like they're obvious, true, and cool. Also known as smooth. I could make my podcast my full-time job.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you just make it super smooth.
Oh yeah.
Super smooth, and then breathe in between it, and it's another layer of depth that it gets into you.
And then putting it all together and reading it that way, I can already tell it's the new story.
Yes.
It's the new story.
So from the top, read them smooth and breathe.
Okay. I help my audience help themselves.
Do it like
And
this. Do it like
oh,
this.
okay.
I help my audience help themselves. So it
I
actually
love
goes down at the end. I know it looks like we're splitting
that.
hairs
Okay.
here, everybody, but we're not. We're making this thing sing, as they say. I help my audience help themselves, and it goes down at the end, which means you're getting that's when it's obvious. When it goes up at the end, everybody, that's called up talk. And I help my audience help themselves. Turn it into a question. Okay.
Okay.
I help my audience help themselves. And then,
Okay. So the up talk would lead it to being a question, but the down
yes,
was more secure
yes,
and confident. Okay. So I help my audience help themselves.
beautiful.
My podcast generates enough revenue that it's my full-time job.
Perfect.
I created a community where people get to heal together.
Obvious, true, and cool. Nailing it.
Obviously, I published 50 episodes this year. Easy,
Easy. They
easy.
nailed it. Breathe in and out.
I invite whoever I want to be on the podcast.
See, she said it's just matter of fact. That's what you want. Matter of fact. Talk about the things that you want. Matter of fact. And get the breath in there. And guess what happens? Matter of fact become facts of matter. Breathe in and out.
Matter of fact become facts of matter. I love that.
Nice work. Now, what are you feeling? Describe the vibe now.
Now I'm like, who am I going to ask to be on the podcast today?
Exactly. Exactly. Because when people feel that things are doable, they usually go do them. And that's what
Yeah,
happens. That's one of the things that happens with this. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Cool. How about this? I'll come on your 50th show.
perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah. And we'll talk
It's
about what happened.
It's gonna be so exciting to see
Yeah.
how much I've improved and learned, and
Hmm.
all the different people that have been on. I mean, it's really exciting to think I've gotten past this hardest part with this first 8, and
Yeah.
really
You
like
have.
12 already recorded. So it's awesome.
So there's a difference, folks, between having opportunity and creating opportunity.
Yeah,
It's a big difference.
yeah,
You just saw some of it.
that's
All it is.
beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I fell in love on sight in 2003 when I saw it for the first time. You know, saw a guy take a girl through it was at a workshop in Thailand, a bad breakup, and he just turned the whole thing on its head with one sentence. Once they got to it, he did that to me because that was the Lord of the Rings spell that held the whole thing together,
Mm.
forcing her to take the whole thing personally. He did that to me. He did that to me. He had to repeat it 3 times. So everybody in the workshop, there was about 40 people there, were staring at the same spell. And then at the end, he goes, take that last word out and put in himself, the word himself. And it was such a radical departure from the story she'd been relentlessly telling herself for 4 years since it happened. Turned into he she stuttered and it went up at the end like a question. He did that to himself? And then the breath unlocked. He did do that to himself, and oh, the story just totally changed. And I was like, that right there. And I've been studying this stuff since. So yeah, words, everybody. If you want to work on your mindset, you will be. If you're working on it, like if you're changing it, you're improving it, you'll be using different words. The whole thing comes down to the words and how we use them. If you want a better mindset, you need to use better words better. And that's what we were doing here. We were getting words on paper, making them quote unquote better, okay, by thinking about our thinking and then using better words better. How do you use better words better? Get your breath in there.
Yeah, it's like feeling like once you write it down, and regardless of what the story is, if it's about, it doesn't matter what it's about. It's like once you see how it makes you feel inside, that is kind of that trigger point. People are like, oh, this makes me so angry or frustrated, or, oh, it's like, well, why? What is it that is making you feel that way? And I realized that my language that I was using before, my mom is very much I have to do this and I need to do that. And it's like, I got to the point where I was like, I could see and feel the resentment that she had. And it was like those words for me, when I say I have to do something, or, I hate should. That I've eliminated should like a year ago, because I was like, who should? This is so like subjective. It's such bullshit. And it's like anything that has this feel of obligation, I don't want anybody to do anything for me out of obligation. If you don't truly want to call me or want to be on this podcast, or or love me or anything, or give me this job, whatever it is, I don't want it because you should give it to me or because you have to. I want you to do it because you want to. And that's the way I feel about myself. Like that kind of resentment that was built up and holding the breath
Mhm.
inside of like, I have to do this. I told my mom, I was like, when you say, oh, I have to do this today, I'm like, do you? No, you don't have to. Do you want to? Or do you think you should? Because there's such completely different feelings that are coming out of just these simple words that we think are so just common, but it really takes an effect on what's inside and how you breathe and how you process and what you do next.
Yeah, and how you see yourself, your
Yeah,
identity. Not that your mom's doing this, maybe she is, I don't know. And a lot of times when people use those words, have to, need to, got to, it scripts the martyr mentality.
totally.
Whoops.
100%.
Sounds fun, everybody. Martyr mentality. I'm doing this for you because I love you so much. And because I love you so much, you need to love me back because I'm suffering for you.
Yeah. And then that's what happens is if you don't receive what you thought you should receive in return for whatever that is that
Yeah, resentful.
you're resentful,
Yeah,
and that stuff builds up into your body, and then you've got health issues.
yeah,
So I believe anybody who has any kind of health ailment, concern, dis-ease in their body, it's something that can be fixed.
yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you. I've seen too much. You know, that's a trauma bond. The martyr mentality is a trauma bond.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different flavors of trauma bonding. So,
Oh yeah.
what we say that.
Codependency,
Oh yeah.
people pleasing,
Oh yeah.
all the things,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking to somebody the other day about people pleasing, and my friend, she was like so concerned to have this intense conversation with her spouse, and she was so afraid of what he was going to respond with, and it was just like, if you're not being your true authentic self and sharing what you really feel out of this concern of what you want the other person, how they're going to receive it, you're lying. People think they're people pleasing as they're helping keep everybody else happy, but it's this control, and it's lying. It's lying not only to the other people, but lying to yourself.
Yeah. It's always person pleasing. Like people pleasing is first person pleasing. You know, I'm afraid of what he's going to say. No, I'm afraid of how I'm going to react to what he's going to say.
Yes. How am I going to feel if he's upset or if he's responds this way or that way? And then it's overthinking and
Yeah. Hell
trying
on
to
earth.
assume that you know how somebody else is going to think or feel.
How about we get into that in the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, so how would you want to leave people that are looking for that magic wand and they have something in their life? I mean, what would be the first thing you would say to them?
Listen to this podcast again. And then when you get to the place where Amanda is writing down her 5 could statements, pick up a pen and write down your own 5 could statements and listen to what we're doing with her words and do something similar to your words. And then when you have, light it up with breath and then turn it into a 7-day challenge. Read them and breathe once in the morning when you wake up. In the morning, it's defined as the first 2 hours that you're up, whether you get up at 10 or 4, it doesn't matter. Once in the morning, read them and breathe for 7 days. And then message me on Instagram and let me know how it went. At
I love it.
Enlifted Coaches.
Yeah, well, let's add a little bit more here at the end about Enlifted Coaches and where people obviously can find you on Instagram, but what you do with Enlifted Coaches.
I am one of the co-founders and the head coach of Enlifted, and we certify mindset coaches. We run a mindset certification business. I deliver all the trainings. To date, we have 460 level 1 graduates, and then there's level 2 and level 3. Yeah, so we teach the tools, and it's equal parts personal development and professional development. So you come in and you do a damn good piece of work on your own story while learning to work on other people's stories. Um, and you can find out a lot more about that at www.enlifted.me.
That's beautiful. I'll definitely put that in the show notes. And I am committing and saying out loud on this podcast today that by the time we get to episode 50, it is going to be super exciting because I
Nice.
am committing to joining one of your sessions. I think I'm going to do the one that starts at the end of March. So
Come on
I'm
in.
sure all of the listeners are going to be able to see a huge improvement in my communication skills just from being able to take this coaching course to help myself and my audience.
That will happen.
I know. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mark. I really appreciate your time. And everybody, if this episode resonated with you, which I'm sure it did, because that's the way the universe works, it matches you up with the stuff that you need to hear today. Please share this with a friend who you think may be able to benefit from it, because I'm sure every single person that you know will. It is who is going to listen. So let's pass it along and share the love, and let's heal together.
Wow, what an incredibly insightful journey we have taken today. A major theme that came up in this episode is that everyone has the power to change their life. As Mark England, the master of wizard of words, shared, we all have a magic wand, a pen, and a piece of paper to alter the course of events. Here are some key takeaways to implement in your own healing journey. Harness the power of words. Use them to cast out negativity and write your goals. Shift your mindset. Recognize that your mindset is the story you tell yourself, and you have the power to rewrite it. Self-love is essential. Practice saying and writing affirmations of self-love, trust, and belief. Take control of your narrative. Stop being a victim of circumstance and become a hero of your own story. And lastly, get clear on what you want. Don't just focus on what you want to get rid of, but get clear on how you want to live, what relationships you want, and start working towards that. Remember, healing is a practice. It is a journey. Remember, your healing journey is a practice, not a destination. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who could benefit from these powerful insights. And we would also love to hear your feedback. Comment on our Instagram page. It's back the number 2, the heart, the number 2, love me, back to the heart to love me. And let us know your thoughts and how you'll be using these tips in your own life.